The Unplayable Podcast is proudly presented by Qantas, the official podcast partner and the official airline partner of Cricket Australia. Once again this season, Qantas is proud to be flying Australia's cricketers as they take on the world.
Let's get it on, Gilly. This is Pat Cummins. This is Australia.
One of the worst things I have ever seen done on a cricket field. Good night.
Hello, welcome to the Unplayable Podcast. Thanks for joining us. This is the Day 3 recap here in Darwin. Australia are 67 runs in arrears of Bangladesh's big first innings total. They've got 6 wickets in hand. Their hopes really lie with Cameron Green and Alex Carey, who got through the stumps. Josh Hazlewood took his 300th wicket earlier today, and Mehidy Marrara had a great day with bat and ball. Josh Schonafinger is my name, joined by Louis Cameron. And Lou, Australia aren't quite out of this game just yet.
Feels like we're in a pretty similar position to the start of the day. Australia had another, I'd say, poor day. It was particularly in the field. A poor day for the top order. Bowlers probably did enough and were probably in and around the mark without being extraordinary. But I think everyone's on the verge of ready to call Bangladesh. On the verge of a. Probably the greatest upset in Test history, but we're not quite there yet, and there is still a path for an Australian victory, I'd say. So, all things considered, Bangladesh well on top, though.
If you're enjoying this pod, please give us a rating or a review if you're on Apple or Spotify. Why don't we start with the drop catches, because that was certainly a talking point in the first half of the day. Australia put down another 2 today, adding to the 3 they put down yesterday. Steve Smith, who is the all-time leading Test catcher for a fielder, put down a sitter that you just don't see Steve Smith drop.
Yeah, and it was a classic, let's move the field to where the batter just hit it. And that never happens where the ball goes anywhere near that field. That never happens unless Pat Cummins is a captain. So Pat Cummins gets hit for 4 by Tuscan Ahmed to deep backward square. I think he already had 2 guys back on the hook for the short ball plan. He goes, all right, well, let's put a 3rd guy back there. Surely that's not going to work. Another bouncer, this time a top edge, skied. And Steve Smith, that would have been, I believe, the record for most catches in Test cricket. Although I think there's an asterisk next to that we can discuss maybe later in this episode. And technique looked good. He's right under it the whole way. It looked like he sighted it the whole way. It just hit his wrists. Like it was a surprising one. It's almost a very different catch, similar to the one that he dropped off Shanto. I think it was. It was Tanzid the previous day, where that also hit his wrist. And it was one again. Well, that one was much harder. He kind of had to dive and react to a deflection off Carey's gloves, but. Just the ball didn't go into the bit of the hand that we're used to seeing. We're just used to seeing Smith having great hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
So that was a surprise. And then I think it was 4 balls later, or it was certainly the same. Cummins over. Travis Head's running back from mid-on. A harder catch. He's running full stretch and sticks out a hand. He only stuck out one hand. Like he made the requisite ground. He got underneath the ball. Maybe he felt like he wouldn't have reached it if he went 2 hands, but. That's another one he probably would have expected himself to take as well.
Yeah, he had the shin pads on as well. He had been fielding in close. So another little handicap maybe to put into his favour. The 3rd catch of those 5 was the last ball last night, which we did touch on in the podcast. Cameron Green gave Mehidy a life on 32, and Mehidy made sure that it did cost Australia. He got 65 in total. He lasted 4 hours, 154 balls. And every time Australia looked like they just might run through the tail, Mehidy was there at the other end making sure that there was no easy path through.
118, I think it was, for the last 4 wickets.
Wow.
Mehidy kind of shepherded the tail through.
Yeah.
As we pointed out last night, that tail, there are no world beaters in there. Nosebleed stuff for Hassan Mahmood up at number 8. Tajul Islam. But look, they all kind of did their job. Hassan clearly is a guy who is a limited stroke maker. So he said, okay, cool, I'm going to dig in for 92 balls and only hit 14 runs. Tajul Islam was slightly different. He gets some cracking shots, and including a 6. 17 of 23. That helps his team kind of advance and take advantage of some tiring Australian bowlers. And then Tuscan Ahmed hit a couple of 4s. The other one I wanted to say was Ebadot Hussain hit the 3rd 6 of his career off Nathan Lyons.
And that was a beautiful shot.
It was a cracking shot. It might have been one of the biggest 6s in the game. So just frustrating stuff. Kept this Australian team out in the dirt. I think we were all kind of talking about it, like after a summer of watching England come out here and particularly against a short ball, just kind of, they'd hit a few sixes, they get some runs quickly, and then they'd all kind of go out. It's just kind of normal batting from Bangladesh. Like, Mehidy didn't completely shut up shop, but he kind of said, well, if you want to bowl short stuff, like, good luck to you. Like, I'm just going to sit here, get underneath it, score the occasional boundary, get off strike or keep the strike when I need to, and just bugger you blokes out, basically. Yeah. That's how you win test matches of cricket in Australia. It's been really honest, disciplined stuff from Bangladesh.
Do you mean honest and disciplined or boring old school test cricket?
All of the above. There's nothing. Has anyone at the ground here been bored by it? Like, it's you don't have to play aggressive cavalier cricket to entertain people. I thought what Mehidy Hassan did was awesome. Like, that's entertaining for me. It's not baseball stuff, but it's really honest test cricket, and I think they've won a lot of fans.
Bangladesh's run rate in that first innings was over 3 runs and over, so not as if they're totally stonewalling either. Their lead on the first innings, 228, and from an Australian point of view, thank God they had Josh Hazlewood. He took all 4 Australian wickets today to finish with 6 for 89. That's the 4th 6-wicket haul of his test career, and he took his 300th as well. Mehidy Hassan, it was fitting that he got one of Bangladesh's best. He's been such a star over all these years, Josh Hazlewood, and not really too much of a celebration from him. He's never been a huge celebrator, has he? But the Australian teammates all knew that it was a milestone, and they made sure they ruffled his hair and got him to lift the ball up to the crowd. Yeah,
he's not the sentimental type, Josh Hazlewood, is he? I think we both had a crack in that press conference of just getting, a bit of a look at the man behind the that great right arm. But I mean, the most fitting thing is for Josh Hazlewood is probably taking his 300th wicket in August in Darwin, thousands of kilometres from anywhere else where the rest of the country is kind of focusing on football finals and things like that. So it'll hardly rate a mention in the scheme of things, but we were there to witness it, Josh.
We were.
And, he's been a champion bowler, and, I think it's just reward for the rehab that he's done. He was Australia's best bowler in that kind of long innings there, and Australia now have a bowling attack that if this 4 play again, which I dare say they probably will, they'll be the first attack to all have 300 test wickets to their name. I think they were the first in terms of 4 guys all having 300 test wickets.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, I think they might have been the first to all have 200 in the same, 200 wickets to their name. So, yeah, I mean, we overlook it, but, gee, that's a hell of an accomplishment.
Phenomenal. 9th Australian to get to the mark after Warne, Lyon, McGrath, Stark, Lilly, Cummins, Johnson and Lee. So, obviously, you can't get to that level unless you're a great name. Australia had to bowl 138 overs. That's only happened 5 times since the COVID epidemic hit. That's twice in India, twice in Pakistan on those very flat wickets, and then once in Sri Lanka when I think Dinesh Chandimal got a double century. So it's very rare that the Aussies are in the field for that long, and even more rare that it happens here in our own backyard.
Yeah, so first time since COVID they've spent that much time in the field. It's a really good stat, Josh, and it just has kind of felt all tests that we've been waiting for Australia to surge back into it. Maybe that was the beginnings of it with Green and what Green and Carey did before stumps there. But just thinking about, we're expecting that because this Bangladesh team, yes, they've been successful, maybe more so in their home conditions. They beat they beat New Zealand away a few years ago now. But when you kind of look through the averages, like Lytton Dust averages 36. Mominal 38, Mushfiqur 39, Shanto 34. They're not absolute world beaters when you compare them to, Head, Marnus, Smith are all up above, 43 for Trav, 56 for Smith, 44. Like there are, and all their bowlers kind of average around the low 30s mark. So you kind of think in the fullness of a 5-day contest that just, the team that has the better credentials just somehow asserts themselves. I think we're at a bit of an inflection point here. Like either in 2 days' time we're going to be talking about, a potential decline in this Australian team, or we're going to kind of go, why did we ever doubt them? Like these guys have won everything, and they've gotten themselves out of the hole again against opponents they really should be beating at home. So it's just in an interesting position, I think.
It is, and Bangladesh only have 9 away wins in their entire Test history.
Yeah.
This could be number 10. That's a good segue into my moment of the day today, Louis. I'm giving it to the Cameron Green inside edge that flicked the leg stump. The bail stayed on. He got 4. It's not often you get 4 after the ball hits the stumps. Potentially a sliding doors moment, not just in this match, but in Cameron Green's career. We know how much pressure he's been under. He was only on 10 at the time he finishes the day on 43 not out, and looked very composed, very solid throughout the rest of his innings. Maybe that's just the stroke of luck that you need.
Exactly right, and I think outside of that, he barely put a foot wrong in 86 balls of the innings. 86 balls at the crease. It's a massive innings for him. You know, the other guys who might be under some pressure. Jake Weatherall made a 3-ball duck. Marnus Labuschagne played all rounder. A pretty gentle offering from Tajul Islam. Although now we're sitting up here in the outside and on the press box, I'm kind of noticing how strong this breeze is, and I'm wondering Tajul just kind of bowling into that breeze and getting it just to hold potentially. Mate. I mean, we're making excuses for him because he's played all round a pretty full ball. That's the one for me that's the most glaring. I mean, that's he was looking set. He played some beautiful shots, Marnus, to kind of get going. That's where you need your number 3 to get you back in the contest and make an 80+ score to really drive home the advantage. It's just this. It's a frustrating thing for Marnus, and it must be. Well, we know that it's frustrating for the Australian Brains Trust. They're kind of wondering how they're going to get the best out of him. And then Steve Smith was an even more puzzling one, I'd say too.
Yeah, well, Steve Smith made 44, looked pretty good for the most part of his innings as well, but then Mehidy Hassan came on from this end, again, bowling into the wind and tightened things up. He said at this press conference, all he wanted to do to Steve Smith was just make sure he couldn't score any easy runs. And how rare is that Steve Smith can't turn over the strike against the spinners? Mehidy was able to do it. He bowled 13 overs, gave away only 20 runs, and then as Steve Smith tried to just knock one down to long on for an easy single, it just held in the pitch a little bit. Mehidy had to move quite swiftly to his right, did a good job and held a return catch. A massive moment in this game.
Yeah, and it's a really good point about that rotation of strike and ability to score off the spin. Spin is not going to threaten you on Australian wickets in general, unless you get to a non-drop-in wicket, maybe day 4 and 5. But even that's becoming rarer and rarer. I'd say, throughout this test, there has been very little on offer, especially for the very small Bangladeshi bowlers. They're not going to get the extra bounce that you'd kind of require in Australia. But you're right, he was beautifully accurate. Tajul as well. And you compare it to Nathan Lyon, back in Australia's innings. So, he didn't bowl terribly or anything like that. But Shanto in particular scored really quickly. I think he scored about five and over off him. Picked him off, got singles down the ground at ease, and Mushfiqur as well was another who scored quite well against him. Lyon had a bit more success, I think, in terms of tying Tanza down at times, but then he scored, really well off the likes of Green and Bo Webster. So, just tactically, Bangladesh are just around the edges, just finding these little edges over the Aussies.
Yeah, they've had a few wins, haven't they? I just want to make a quick note on the bails today, Lou. We had a couple of bail moments, didn't we? So Cameron Green had that one where the bail stayed on Travis Head's wicket, where he chopped on to Hassan Mahmood for the second time in the match. He put the bail back on, which I will get your thoughts on that. And then we also had...
I have thoughts.
Then we also had Steve Smith marking out centre with the bail, a la Shivnarine Chanderpaul.
I missed that one.
Yeah, so
describe what happened there.
That was at the start of the second session, I believe. Or maybe the start of the third session. He obviously couldn't get the right groove with his spike, and so he took the bail off and knocked it in. We saw Steve Smith wear the eye patches like Shivnarine last season. Now he's doing this with the bail.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something happening there.
He also told me he's moving to Guyana at the end of this test. So
it's all adding up.
Guyana Super League. That could be, I mean, it's closer to South America from New York, which he lives in. We know he wants to play at the Olympics, of course.
So Travis Head...
lost my train of thought. Travis Head bails. Yeah, so he gets out, chopping on exact same way he got out in the first innings. Very similar dismissal to Jake Weatherall as well. And it was almost like a way of processing his disappointment. It was kind of like, how have I done that again? I'm not going to, in his head, he's probably thinking, I want to whack all 3 stumps out of the ground. We all know that feeling when you get out. It's just like... It's just a horrible feeling, and he's just kind of calmly he picked up one bail, put it back on, bent down, picked up the other bail, and that one didn't quite fit because one of the stumps wasn't quite
a bit
straight
splayed,
enough,
yeah.
so he had to bring it back to get it in its groove. And the square leg umpire wouldn't have even need to check with the standing umpire whether they were standing up straight. I thought he was going to keep the bails on, scratch out centre, and then WG Grace style just say, "No, I'd like to keep batting, thanks."
He should have given that a crack.
That would have been funny. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he would have been right. Like everyone, more people have turned up to watch Travis Head bat than see Hassan Mahmood take his 8th wicket for the match, which we should get around him as well because he's bowled beautifully.
I was trying to find out just how many times the same bowler has dismissed both openers in the same match twice. Couldn't quite find that, so we'll have to come back to our listeners for that one tomorrow.
If any stats heads are listening.
Yeah, please. Let us know.
Hopefully Rick Finlay is a listener to the Unplayable Podcast because he's or Laurie Colliver.
Yeah, Laurie. Yeah, there's
types.
lots of good statisticians out there in Australia. So if you do know the answer, podcasts@cricket.com.au is the email to get in touch with. Lou, we've got a very exciting day 4 coming up tomorrow. What do you think? How do you think it's going to play out?
I mean, I just can't predict it. There's no way you would have predicted that we'd be in this situation where Bangladesh are in the box seat for victory.
Even speaking to the Bangladeshi journos today, they said not even in their wildest dreams did they think they'd be in this situation.
No, of course. I mean, it's ridiculous to think about. Like their most recent Test match, they got sculled by Zimbabwe by an innings in Harare. Like Zimbabwe. And then in the Cricket Australia 11 practice game, they got skittled for 50 and got made to look second rate by some, with all due respect, some okay state players. Like, it's remarkable the discipline and fight they've shown over the last 3 days to compete with a team that is so much more credentialed than them. It's not funny. So it's been a real pleasure to witness that, and I can't wait to see how the rest of it unfolds.
It's going to be great to watch. Can Cameron Green and Alex Carey save Australia? Find out tomorrow on the Unplayable Podcast.